Is having IQ tests really that smart? How smart are you? People often answer this question with their IQ, intelligence quotient, test scores. But does this tell the whole story? IQ tests were first created by French psychologists Alfred Binet and Théodore Simon in the early 1900s. At the time, the French government required all children to attend school. Therefore, they needed a way to identify which children might need extra educational support. Binet and Simon came up with tests for this. Their exams included many kinds of questions. Some asked students to tell the difference between words. Others asked them to follow a moving object with just one eye. The scores from these tests were measured on what became known as the Binet-Simon scale. Binet also introduced the idea of mental age, which measured intelligence based on the average abilities of children in different age groups. While the Binet-Simon scale was groundbreaking, it didn't provide an accurate measure of all aspects of intelligence. That led to other clever theories about finding out how intelligent people really are. But even with these new ideas, testing intelligence has remained difficult.
Hi there, everyone. Welcome to English for You. I'm Mike.
I'm Nikki.
And today we are going to begin our two-day article all about IQ tests. Interesting. There's a good question as our title to get us thinking about these things. Is having IQ tests really that smart? And I like that little joke, how they use smart there, right? Because IQ tests are supposed to test your intelligence or how smart you are. But is actually doing them a smart thing to do? In other words, is it a good thing to do? Do you have an opinion on this, Nikki?
I'll say depends on when you did it, right?
Ooh, that's
when
a
you're
good point.
younger or when you're older. But these kind of things, you can only do it once.
Really?
Yeah, because then the next time will still be the same test.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you can only do it once.
Okay. Have you actually done an IQ test?
Yeah, I got a pretty good score.
Oh, good for you.
What about you?
We won't ask. I don't know. I think I might have done a fake one or like one online sort of thing, not a serious proper one. I remember as a kid, in Canada we don't use IQ tests very much, right? Normally we just look at your scores in school on your tests and your classes and things like that. But I do remember having a friend, and he wasn't very good at school. He kind of quit high school around 17 or 18. So not, typically the most intelligent guy, if you measure it like by tests. This guy, though, he could make food out of anything. He could build things out of old wood and old wires. He once built a giant fish tank that was also a table in his house. And he did it, this is way before YouTube or anything like that. He didn't do it with books. He was just really smart in other ways, So I could sit here and talk about, Roman history or science or things like that, right? But he could actually make things that I would look at and go, I wouldn't know where to start.
Yeah.
So I kind of realized at a younger age that intelligence is really different, and the way we measure it and the way we grade it, it really is very, very unique to each person.
Yeah, people are smart in different ways.
They are, absolutely. And a lot of it is also about your life experience, where you come from. I think in the article we'll find out that, people who come from different parts of the world might not do well on an IQ test from another place just because they weren't born there and raised there. But it's a very interesting thing. And of course, IQ tests are things that sometimes we have to take for different reasons. So let's find out if having IQ tests is really that smart, and if it's not, why not? So let's get into the article. It begins, how smart are you? Now that's a question we're sort of asking. I don't know if it's a polite question to ask.
I don't think it is. How smart are you?
Hi,
like
Mike.
An insult.
You're Nikki. How smart are you, Nikki? Oh, I'm not very smart. So yes, not a very polite question to ask on, a first date, or when you meet someone at a party or something like that. But it is a question, and you might ask yourself, how smart am I? Right? Well, it says people often answer this question with their IQ, intelligence quotient test scores, but does this tell the whole story? Okay, that's an important little bit of information there.
那今天我们要来讨论有关智力以及智力测验的问题，到底智力可不可以被衡量呢？我们一起来看看。首先 IQ Intelligence Quotient 指的就是智力，那 Quotient 这个字在这里指的是商数。那另外我们看到 the whole story 整个故事，意思就是整件事情某一件事情的全貌。
So there you go. An IQ test, that just is short for Intelligence Quotient Test. Let's find out where these came from. It says IQ tests were first created by French psychologists Alfred Binet and Théodore Simon in the early 1900s. I guess we should say Théodore, right? That would be the French.
Théodore.
That's the French pronunciation. In English, we also have this word Theodore. That's how we would say it. But the French pronunciation is a little different. And since he's from France, I guess we should say it the right way. So there we go. Binet and Simon, they invented these in the early 1900s, so more than 100 years ago. It says, at the time, the French government required all children to attend school. Okay. To attend is basically to go regularly to a certain place, to be at a certain thing, or to go to a certain thing. If you're going to come to my party, you will attend my party. In school, you have to attend school, and usually in the morning, they will read out all the names of the students to make sure you are attending school that day. You are at school. You are taking part in it. You are where the action is happening. For example, Christopher usually only attends church twice a year, on Easter and Christmas.
那最一开始的智力测验是由2位法国的心理学家在20世纪初期所发想的。那因为那时候法国政府要求所有的小孩都要上学 ，psychologist 这个名词指的是心理学家，那是从 psychology 名词心理学变过来的。那 attend 这个动词指的是经常去某个地方，像是上学啊，或者是上教堂。You can also attend a meeting, attend a class, or you can just say go to a class, go to a meeting.
Exactly right. So yes, children were required to go to school or attend school. Therefore, they needed a way to identify which children might need extra educational support. Not all kids can learn at the same speed, right? Some might come already having learned things from their parents or something. Others might come not even knowing A, B, C, D, E, that kind of thing. So they need to identify, that's like basically to find which children might need extra educational support. They might need more teaching, extra classes, because they're a little bit behind the other students. Educational is a good word to know when we're talking about tests and schools and things like that, because it just relates to things about education, things about teaching, things about learning. For example, the teacher took his students on an educational trip to the Science Museum.
那因此呢，政府就需要找到一个方式来确认学生的程度，或者是哪些学生会需要额外的帮助。Identify 这个动词指的是确认或者是指认某人 to recognize. The police, or you can say the police found a witness to identify the criminal, 就是去指认，找到有人来指认这个犯罪的人。那名词我们可以说 identification, 我们常常说的 ID, identification 或者是 identity. 那另外 educational 这个形容词指的是教育的 something that is related to education. 那名词就会是 education, or something that can teach you something you didn't know before. So for example, this game is educational. It has educational purposes. 那它这个游戏是很具有教育意义的。
So you can learn things while having fun. That sounds like a pretty good deal. Okay, then back to the article. It says, Binet and Simon came up with tests for this. They came up with tests to identify which children might need extra teaching, extra educational support. Their exams included many kinds of questions. Some asked students to tell the difference between words, assuming that the kids can already read. That should be something that's not too difficult. Others asked them to follow a moving object with just one eye. Interesting. So they're not just, testing facts and, knowledge and things you learn from books.
Also your reaction.
Your reaction, your mind, how your body works, that kind of stuff too. Again, this is, more than 100 years ago, so maybe some of the things they're testing back then wouldn't be tested these days because we know a little bit more. But I guess if your eyes don't work very well, it could be hard for you to read what's on the board in school or follow along when reading a book or something like that. So they had a bunch of different tests. It wasn't just, math and language and stuff.
所以呢 Binet 和 Simon 就想出了这个测验 Come up with something 指的是想出 You think of something。 那在这边我们还看到今天的文法 Let's take a look。 在这边我们看到了这个智力测验，它包含了许多不同的问题。那课文接着说，有些问题要求学生要辨识不同的字词，有些呢则要求学生要单眼看并且跟着物体移动。这边的有些用到了复数不定代名词，而且它们所代表的范围是不限定的。所以如果我们在一大群东西里面只要举例2类，那我们就会用 some, others. For example, some students are napping during their breaks. Others are chatting with each other. 意思就是说，有些学生在下课的时候睡午觉，有些学生则是在聊天。那这边只是举例2类的学生，所以不代表班上只有这2种活动进行，可能也有其他学生在做其他事情。那若是我们今天想要限定班上的学生，真的就只有一些人在睡觉，而其他都在聊天的话，我们就可以说 Some of the students are napping during their breaks, but the others, the rest, are chatting with each other.
All right, let's get back to our article. It says the scores from these tests were measured on what became known as the Binet-Simon scale. Okay, so that's, of course, named after the people who invented it, Alfred Binet and Théodore Simon. A scale is basically just a way of measuring something. You can kind of think of as a ruler as a scale to measure how long things are. We also use this to talk about a real thing. You might have a scale in your kitchen. You can weigh out flour or sugar if you're, baking. You could have a scale in your bathroom to measure your body weight. If you're dieting or going to the gym, you might check to see if you're losing weight. We can also talk about a scale just to be a way of measuring anything in the world. It doesn't have to actually be something physical, like a machine or something like that. It can also just be sort of an idea or a set of values or rules, because that's basically what a scale is. It's a range of numbers or levels, and it's used to measure things. Here's a pretty common example that I'm sure most of you know. Temperature can be measured in either the Celsius or Fahrenheit scale. And of course, the IQ scale is something we're probably still familiar with. I think, 120 is kind of pretty smart. I think that those are the numbers.
Yeah, normally people had 100. 100.
Over 100 is pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the scale that we put the IQ tests on. Binet, it says, also introduced the idea of mental age, which measured intelligence based on the average abilities of children in different age groups. So, the idea that, kids around the age of 5 should know how to read simple words and count up to 10 or something like that. And then if kids, of course, are born with problems, or if they have an accident that affects their brain, their mental age might be affected by that. Their body is 12 years old, but they have the mental age of a 5-year-old child or something. So this is the kind of thing they also invented or came up with. It said measured intelligence based on the average abilities of children in different age groups. So this is what most kids should be like. But of course, every kid will probably be a little better or maybe not as good in some areas.
那这个测量结果后来就变成我们大家比较熟知的比奈西蒙智力测验。比奈同时也介绍了这个心智年龄的概念。在这边我们看到 scale 这个名词指的是等级或者是级别。Size-wise， 如果我们是在讲尺寸的话，我们可以说 on a large scale, on a small scale。那如果我们要讲范围的话，很常我们会听到人家说 on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like this thing?
All right, back to the article. It says, while the Binet-Simon scale was groundbreaking, it didn't provide an accurate measure of all aspects of intelligence. Yes, this is a very important thing to remember. You try to be accurate, though, with a lot of things because you're trying to be precise, or you're trying to be true to most or all of the facts. We often use this word when talking about machines that measure things. So if you have a thermometer that's supposed to measure the temperature or how hot or cold something is, you would like it to be fairly accurate, right? You don't want it to be off by a certain amount. A lot of people might complain if they go out in the day and then in the afternoon it starts to rain when they thought it was going to be a sunny day all day long, and they'll complain and say the weather forecast wasn't accurate. It wasn't precise. It wasn't true to all the facts. It was wrong when measuring things. Here's another machine that should be accurate, or it can cause trouble. I don't think your clock is accurate. It's about 10 minutes too slow. which means I could miss my bus or be late for work or something. So an accurate watch or clock is very important.
那虽然这个智力测验看似具开创性，它其实没有办法提供很准确、很精准的测量结果，因为有很多方面没有办法被测量。Groundbreaking 这个形容词指的是具开创性的 ，using new methods。那 accurate 这个形容词指的是准确的或者是正确无误的 ，correct and true。那相反的 ，the opposite would be inaccurate。Aspect 这个名词指的是方面、层面 ，a part of a situation。Absolutely.
Back to the article, that led to other clever theories about finding out how intelligent people really are. But even with these new ideas, testing intelligence has remained difficult. But of course, scientists love to come up with theories, even if it's a difficult thing to do. A theory is basically a proposed explanation of something based on what you know. So you're not saying this is true. You're saying, I think this is true because all of these other things are true. So that sort of leads me to believe this is true. But a theory, of course, has to be tested out with experiments and tests and things like that. If your theory continues to look true after doing those tests, congratulations, it may now be a fact. But a theory is basically based on what we know now, admitting, though, there are things out there that we don't know. But this is our best guess based on knowledge and research and history. For example, I'm sure that those theories about aliens building the pyramids are totally untrue. I would have to agree with that. And we also had the word intelligent. For a lot of people, this can just mean smart or how good your brain is. If you have a good brain, if you learn things well and quickly, if you know a lot of stuff, most people would describe you as intelligent. But of course, as we've mentioned several times today, people can be intelligent in other ways that don't come from books and schools and learning like that. Here's an example. Most dogs can understand around 90 words, but really intelligent ones can understand more than 200, and most dogs don't go to university.
那但是这样的测验也引导了不同的理论和研究。即使是这样，智力测验这件事情还是很困难。Theory 这个名词指的是学说理论，用来解释这个世界上所发生的事情，多半是还没有办法完全被证实的。So for example, a scientific theory. The difference between a hypothesis and a theory is that a hypothesis is only an idea, while a theory is mostly supported by evidence, 就是假说和理论的差别。那 intelligent 这个形容词指的是有智慧的。If you're intelligent, you're good at understanding ideas and learn things fast. 那它的名词就会是 intelligence。那不想错过更多精彩的 English for You 内容，就赶快订阅我们的 YouTube 频道和追踪我们的 Facebook 吧。
All right, let's turn our attention to our chat question now. Imagine you could create your own test to measure intelligence. The Nikkei Intelligence Quotient Test. The NIQ, I should say.
NIQ.
What questions would you include?
What question? Explain myself. I'll say how well you organize stuff.
Okay, that's a good one. So basically give them a bunch of stuff and see how well they pack a suitcase.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or how they schedule something.
How they schedule things. If you can manage your time.
Exactly.
And not make people wait for you all day long. That's another good one. I would also put, do you stand in front of the door on a busy MRT? That would be a basic intelligence.
Do you let them pass?
Well, yes, you should do that. You should, if you're really intelligent, don't stand in front of the door.
Exactly.
But of course, a lot of people might fail that one. All right, we're going to have more about this stuff tomorrow. So please do the smart thing, show you have an amazing IQ, and come back and join us for that. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Attend. My grandpa never attended school, but he learned to read and write by himself. Educational. Educational. The teacher carefully plans lessons to meet the educational needs of every student in class. Scale. Jenny told her doctor that on a scale of 1 to 10, her pain was a 4. Accurate. The movie gives an accurate look at life in the 18th century in this country. Theory. The science team proposed a theory but lacked the necessary data to fully support it. Intelligent. My little sister is very intelligent and always gets good grades in school.
智慧小补帖。
Quotient. Psychologist. Identify. Groundbreaking. Aspect.